I believe we are live streaming. I see the little YouTube thingy up there. Hello, I am Jane Frizzell, and this is Office Hours. We meet every Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And this, excuse me, um, this summer, we are concentrating on, quote, tense horses or tension in horses. My teacher in Europe, Major Lindgren, called a very tense horse I was riding a nervous rack. And so I call them nervous racks. He meant nervous wreck. And I also call them basket cases sometimes. But the thing is that when we are training, looseness in the body and the mind of the horse is a primary requirement. It may even be the very bottom of the completely corrupt and incomprehensible training scale. The training scale is not in the most original German instructions, which are Steinbrecht's Gymnasium of the Horse. And I very much recommend everyone get that book. Okay. So anyway, this summer, all summer long, we're talking about tension. And today I am going to talk about how trainers can use a turn, which is, of course, one-sided engagement, to even decontract muscles, to wring out the resistances from the horse. And resistances, which is the horseman's polite term, it's tension. Resistance is tension. It's either a tense muscle, a held muscle, and whether that's from them being nervous wrecks or basket cases, or simply because they are clumsy and haven't learned efficiently which muscle to contract and which muscle to decontract for a particular action. You know, like someone who clenches their jaw when they think, they can do it absent-mindedly, but in the riding, we are training horses for them to, they're basically professional athletes, because as they are ridden in their way of going, that's how they earn their keep. I mean, obviously we love them and we'll keep them in their retirement also. But what I'm saying is that to consider the training in a more professional way. Okay, so I am going to talk about the benefit of gymnastic turns to settle the horses. It helps them get into their haunches properly so they start to be able to carry properly. And the masters did tell us that to get into their haunches, to prepare them for bilateral engagement, we must train each hindquarter individually with alternating exercises. And the basis of that is the turn. Going through a turn, of course, let's just say a 90-degree turn. The first part of the horse that's going to arrive at the spot of the turn is the forehand. So the horse, to make a correct turn, will, number one, displace his forehand, and number two, continue his march or his trot or whatever, that he continues his same activity behind as he displaces his forehand. That is a correct way for a horse to go through a turn. And that is French classical. You can find that exact phrasing. I use their words. That's a quote from, can't remember the section number, I'm sorry, but Somer 1912 or Fort Riley 1935, in a section describing is it describing the free play of the shoulders? It's not describing the beginning, how we introduce a turn to a horse, which is section 17, which is also very applicable to this discussion. And I'm going to bring it up again in a minute because it is really the first lesson in the education of the horse being ridden. And it's all about the rein aids. So, okay, let's say I'm going to go that way. If I'm going, God, this is weird into this. I'm going to go that way. In order to do that, I am going to vanish this rein, this one. I'm going to send it a tiny bit forward and soften it. So it's not going to contradict this rein, which I either am going to open or just shorten, and the whole horse starts to turn. Now watch this again. That is the functioning of an opening rein, and that is French classical according to section 17 of Sommer 1912. The outer hand, which does not act, goes a tiny bit forward and is soft in order to not contradict the active rein, which goes a little forward, goes in the direction of the turn, and the horse is going that way. So you're either shortening it or opening it, but it both has the same effect that this side of the bit becomes the predominant one that the horse follows. Now listen very carefully and watch what I'm doing. This is the hand which does not act. We deliberately cause it to not act. It says that in the French classical instructions. The outer hand, which does not act. Does the horse start his turn? Here's my question. Does the horse start his turn when my outer hand, which does not act, it goes empty, right? He starts his turn. And the inside bit becomes the predominant side because of the outer hand, which does not act. Do you understand that? Could you follow that? Rewind it and play it a few times. The horse is taught to follow the predominant rein. Does my rein action initiate? Does it start when I vanish my outer hand, which does not act? I think it does. He starts following, and then he's following my inner rein, you see? And then I can either shorten that rein or open it a little bit. But if he's already started his turn, I don't need to open it because the opening rein is just for the beginning. Okay, I just gave you a very clear, I hope you could see me doing it. And this is section 17, French classical, Sommer 1912. It's a public domain document. If you don't already have it, you can Google it because it's public domain. You could read it as soon as this live stream is finished. Okay, now that is how the forehand is going to displace. The other way that the horse is going to start to go through the turn and keep his spine upright over the turning line, which will start to bend his spine, is by inside engagement, that he engages on the inside haunch. In finished riding, in literate riding, we do prepare for the turn by loading the inside haunch. Before, see, if I loosen my joints, load the inside hind, and my outer hand, which does not act, doesn't act, my horse turns because of the bearing effect of the hand which does not act. I hope that you guys are following along what I'm going to say. So, and the way that I prepare him for that turn and load his inside haunch, because of course, the inside legs in a turn have a slightly shorter distance to travel than the outside ones. So the inside hind quarters are going to sit a little bit. The way that that is instigated is by the most important, instigating, most influential of the four natural aids, and that is the weight of the seat. So for a turn, I notify my horse, I'm going to use the weight of my seat. I notify him by loosening. Inside weight. He says, Roger that. I vanish my outer rein and I'm shortening my inner rein because he's now short around the inside of his body because he sat down a little more in the inside. There, my horse is turning. Now, I feel like I'm forgetting something that was really important to put into this mix because now I'm going to weave it into this week's red flag. Oh, why does that soften a horse? Okay, first of all, when we explain a turn to a horse in the progressive successive education that's been laid out by the masters, not by me and not by anyone you know, dead men wrote it down and it works. And it's literally it is each of the primary schools, whether it's Fort Riley, Strumsholm, Vienna, Somme, France, Tortoquinto, Italy, or the Iberian tradition in Spain and Portugal, which is the foundation of vaquero riding. Wherever you want to learn from, what I just went through is the case, primarily because that's actually how a horse would operate in a dynamic fashion on a level surface, making a 90-degree turn, as long as his spine is staying over the line and he's not motor crossing or tilting, which is also wrong. I'm not going to go into that right now. But so going through this in an orderly manner and always riding a turn or curved line or a circle, because a circle is a curved line is a section of a circle or an arc thereof. So I first teach a turn and then I can make a curved line, and that is a curved line, and then a circle comes from that. Why this will calm or maybe even just get the attention of a quote tense horse is partly because of the pure logic of it. Second, and it's logical physically for them. It makes sense to them with the way that we impart the meaning of the sensations that they receive through the four natural aids. Four natural aids being voice, the weight, the seat and its weight, the leg at the girth, especially at the girth. It cannot go behind the girth, but primarily in this situation, it's at the girth, and the rein actions caused by the hand. He's understanding, oh, I'm going to be soft. I'm a little sitting inside, and I'm going to follow the rein. So when the education of the horse and the riding of the horse is consistent, regardless of the school, a tense horse, who is often one who is illiterate and athletic, or literate and written incorrectly, is going to go, oh, this is logical. And this will contribute to their calm, to their softening. Just the routine of it and the logic of it will contribute to their calm. However, and also that a horse that has been taught in a logical, consecutive, successive, proper way how to displace their forehand and how they ought to follow the bit, and it becomes a very friendly, simple thing for them to understand. That horse also is automatically going to have a looser jaw, and he's going to understand, and the whole method is going to contribute to understanding and physical logic for them. There is another part of this that I want to bring up. I wonder how long. Yeah, this is kind of involved. There's another part of this turn that I want to bring up that is really important, and that is the instigating weight of the rider's educated seat acting on the inside haunch of the horse, so that that haunch is starting to be elasticized, and the coxofemoral joint, the uppermost joint of the hindquarters, is gently flexed by load bearing. That you can find all the hell over the German instructions. And you will find it as a linchpin in the French in section 34. Why I'm bringing that up and why I want to highlight that is that next week, a rider trainer who is also a highly skilled professional physical therapist is going to talk to us about the metabolic outcome of coxofemoral articulation by load bearing. I think that'll be really interesting. So that's a little preview for next week. And she had, I mean, that horse she had, it was like, he was like a lit fuse. And now he does collected exercise. Can't hear his front end. Soft. Looks 10 years younger. Because she rides from back to front. And the value of that with all movement instigated by the hindquarters, especially coxofemoral articulation by load bearing, it does something physically, and I don't think anyone has really like laid it out scientifically. That's one other thing I want to bring up. That's going to be a red flag, probably next week. Science. Okay, the red flag for this week, I'm so sad to say, I'm going to just kind of read off my notes. I don't know if I'm going to read you I'm going to show you the picture, first of all. So here's the picture. It says it is not a bicycle, and this Equisc or whatever it's called is the name of the page or company. I don't know if it's a magazine or a website or whatever, or a Facebook page that published it, but they didn't, when they published it, apparently they took the image. It says at the very bottom, image found off Pinterest with no caps. So Pinterest didn't make this image. Someone else went to the trouble, someone else who hasn't had a riding lesson, went to the trouble to make this image. So that is a peeve of mine, and it should worry you that these influencers are taking images without citation. Now, it says it's not a bicycle. However, and let me give you the statistics. It was posted on July 26. As of July 29, it had 1.6 thousand likes, 461 shares, and 134 comments. And most of them were like, oh, this is so marvelous. Oh, yes, they're not a bicycle. They're not a machine. We love our horses so much. The displaceable forehand, actually, according to the masters, as I've just gone through for you, is a little bit more like a bicycle. Here is Major Lindgren says, this action is similar to the handling of the handlebar on a bicycle or the power steering in a car. This is on page 7. I very much recommend this book. And I recommend that you train with someone who understands it and who uses this book. It's basically the workbook for gymnasium. So This action is similar to the handling of a handlebar of a bicycle or the power steering wheel in a car. Remember when I was showing you how I steer? If I want to go this way, first thing I'm going to do is vanish that rein so this rein can go. If this was my bike, if I went this way, this side would have to yield, right? It is much more like a bicycle than what the 134 comments and the 461 people who think it's not like a bicycle and the 1.6 thousand likes. It is more like a bicycle. The masters tell us this. And this goes on, this red flag about this one particular post, it gets worse. And I mean, I went in and said, no, hello, it is like a bicycle. I'll explain why. The post is dangerous because, first of all, it's plagiarized, first of all, but it's visually misleading and it's flat out, it's biomechanically false, and it's also false per equitation science if you believe the classical masters who taught that the forehand is displaceable and that the displacement of the forehand is instigated by the bearing effect, the hand which does not act. I hope that I've made that clear because I know it hasn't been explained anywhere else online properly. The viral reach of the post, 461 shares. I can't do math. I don't understand all of that, but I know it's a lot. That makes it statistically dangerous. For example, if you are an instructor and you now have to sort out a horse that hasn't been allowed to turn because of a hand that doesn't know it should act more like a bicycle, and a rider who probably is just trying to make every turn from the outer rein, which we do, but with the bearing effect, not with the strip of leather. The diagram distorts the role of the turn. The diagram is cockamamie. I mean, it's not even, I have a few videos on turns and the displaceable forehand, and just look for pictures of the front of the horse. And it would also be very well explained in class 106. And yeah, class 106. The diagram distorts the role of the turn in the horse's gymnasticizing. It is completely pervertedly, corruptedly wrong regarding the rein aid, the rein actions, and the natural aid, the hand that manages the rein actions. It is malpractice, basically. Now, there's another layer of problem with this whole thing. There are commenters. For example, there was a commenter who used to follow me, and now it does not anymore, who very too confident, haughty, but completely incorrect in their explanation to others. And they speak, their tone in their commenting has such authority, but it's completely bogus. In reality, only those under authority have any. And for example, I am under authority. I did not invent the displaceable forehand, the rein actions, the aids of the hand to impart the rein actions, or the gymnastically correct way for a horse to go through a turn, which is initiated by inside engagement, which is coxofemoral articulation by load bearing caused by the weight of my seat. I didn't invent any of that. While we're at it, the four natural aids. Anyway, I got into with that young woman, and she doubled down. I said, I'll explain it to you. There is a big trend among these authoritative commenters. They do not know the four natural aids. They will talk and talk about leg and rein aids, and my leg is wonderful and my rein aids are delicate. Forgetting, no, they're not forgetting. You can either not know about something or not care about something. That is, and I think it's not knowing. Ignorance or negligence. Not knowing, not caring. The most influential aid, I could read it out of a book for you. This, I think I'm sort of quoting Vorendorf. The most influential aid is the weight of the rider's seat. It is the instigating aid for every phrase, every action in the riding. Unfortunately, the woman who I gave her a little swat to see if I could wake her up, and she doubled down and couldn't even name the four natural aids, which are the voice, the seat and its weight, the leg, and the hand. Those are the four natural aids. Those are the only four natural aids. Your entire body is not one of them. Your entire body is supposed to remain loose plumb so that you can utilize the four natural aids separately, independently. I know you guys have heard that phrase, independent aids, independent seat. Independently, so that their effects can be combined, not the aids themselves. That was a big thing I just said to you guys. You hearing me? So you're a horse, you're prone to tension, and someone just sits on their crotch, so your hindquarters have no ballast at all, and then they start pushing or doing something with their leg. And even if their hand is delicate, it might feel like a creepy spider. Like, the horses need to know that you're there, not with force or pressure, but with confidence. But first of all, if the horse is a worried horse, you've got to load its hindquarters, or it is going to feel out of control in its own nervous system and be worried. And if it's the other side of the same coin, what Major Lindgren called a sleeping beauty type, but the common vernacular of the horse world is to call that type of horse dull or stuck. Guys, they're not going because you haven't put their ass in gear. Same exact problem. If you are in a car and you haven't put the car in gear, you can push the motor and it's not, you can push the accelerator and it's not going to go when it's in neutral. You have to engage the horses. If it's a lazy one, he will go forward when his ass is in gear. And if it's a frantic one, they'll go, oh, my ass is in gear. I can propel myself and not feel like I'm going to do a somersault. So any mistake, riding is a simple system, and any mistake in it is going to worry or concern a sensitive horse. So that's the number one reason why this stuff, you guys need to do something about it. I am. The best thing you can do about it is learn the right way so that you can see, you might not even know exactly why it's wrong, but you will recognize that it's wrong. I would love any of you to help because the internet has been very active in the horse world for about 20 years, and there is not one good thing to show for it, except for the Horse Magazine in Australia, Euro Dressage, Stream My Horse Germany, a couple other things. I mean, mostly it is all misleading, confusion, even dangerous stuff. Okay. Misunderstanding the aids or not knowing them, not knowing or not caring, ignorance or negligence, that is going to worry a sensitive horse with any kind of sense of self-preservation. Plus, they're pretty intuitive and they know if you don't know. I have told you what the classical masters say about how motion in a horse is instigated by the hindquarters and how that then, of course, the primary instigating aid for all motion in the horse, seat, leg, hand, in that order. And I'm going to reiterate that every legitimate source agrees with each other, and I am only repeating what they say because I am under their authority. Okay, I think that's about it. So I'm going to close with the end of the red flag, and I'm going to encourage you guys to learn about the turn in the program I'm in, that I run, that I operate. There's a dozen rider trainers across the nation that I can vouch for, really understand the turn and how it will help. It can help you gymnasticize your horse, which will either soothe it or motivate it. There's also very clear, easy to understand classes that if you go on my website, basicmilitaryriding.com, you'll find the links for the classes. The trainers that I'm referencing, they won't help you. They won't take your call unless you've done 101 through 105, the first 5 classes. But don't worry about that, because if you do 101 through 105, I reckon if you, do 101 through 105. But even if you just did 101 through 103, you're gonna go, oh, you're gonna know more about riding horses gymnastically according verbatim to the masters of history than 99.999% of the confusing mishmash that is online. At this point, everything online, assume it's wrong. If any of you bring me something that's right, I'll say so, and I'll give it a quick vetting for you. But what I think would be even better is if you become informed enough, and that's one of the main purposes of 101 through 105, to know yourself. You'll go, nope, that's not what they said. And when something is so fucked up, you don't even have to know why it's fucked up. You will just know, and no, I know how to turn a horse. Right now, according to the numbers, because I know how many of you are watching these things, most of you do not turn horses properly. Every single turn can profit you and your horse. And that's what That's what the program I operate insists on. And it's not as hard as it sounds. It's easier to do it the right way. It can be a little bit, when you're getting out of bad habits, it can be a little hard to get into the right way. But once you're there, it's simple and fun and natural and feels automatic. And the horses also acknowledge that. It just gets easier and easier. Okay, on this horrific red flag, which really isn't that bad compared to many of them. When an account, whether it's a page or a magazine, I don't know what they sell those stretchy things, which you're supposed to be elastic in your horses, not your equipment. When an account with that level of reach misrepresents the natural aids, which is some of the most basic information in all of riding, known across the board, spelled out by every school. When an account misrepresents those natural aids or omits them and fails to cite sources, that contributes to widespread confusion and tension in the horses. Confusion is a big cause of tension. If an account or someone who's posting or a page or a commenter presents itself as educational, journalistic, any of those things, magazine, resource page, they have a responsibility to get this right.